All right, welcome back to another video. Today I actually want to go over different ways that you can play Windows games on Linux desktop. As we know, not a lot, it's getting smaller and smaller as the day goes on with different games that you could not play on Linux. But nowadays with Wine and Proton and all the different tools out there to play certain games on Linux, it has come a very long way, but there are still going to be ones that you just cannot play due to either like anti-cheat or just support issues with certain things or certain devices that just don't, support on the Linux side of things. So today I'm going to go over a few different ways that you can play the Windows games that I found fairly good and enjoyable and it still works, pretty well. They all have their own downsides, but one of them I think is the best route if you can make it happen. All of these do require, some type of, either paid software or, purchasing a certain device. So all these are not, completely free, but they are great ways to be able to play your games. So the first one we'll talk about is actually the Nvidia streaming service, which is called GeForce Now. Now, this one does not have a direct, like, actual application that you can download onto your computer, but it actually works really well in Chrome. So what I did is I just used the web app manager, which I can actually just show you real quick. I used the web app manager and actually just created a GeForce Now through my Chrome browser. So that way it just opens up just like any other app would, and I can have that as a separate app in my actual, in my actual launcher here. I could just search GeForce Now and then launch it straight from there. So it works really well for that regard. So you do have to go ahead and connect your accounts on here and edit your settings and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is pretty easy to set up. And basically, what's happening here is they're actually just they have stations for different rigs that you can remote into and then play these different games through cloud services. And so they have pretty much all games you can think of. There's some old games, there's some new games. Like I've played the finals through here, even though I can play the finals Linux itself, which is fine. But games like Call of Duty and stuff like that, so like Warzone and other games like that with anti cheat kind of blocking you from being able to play those games, you would have to play through Windows, and this is a great way to be able to do that. One thing that I did notice when playing through this is that it doesn't really like mouse and keyboard too much. I typically play a mouse and keyboard. It is better for controller support. So like there is a little bit of latency when it comes to mouse and keyboard. So if you're playing super competitively, I don't suggest using this. There are a couple tools that you can download to alleviate that, but from the tools that I've seen, majority of them are through Windows, and they're not on Linux. So just keep that in mind when going into this, depending if you're playing controller or whatever you want to use to play your games. And so the next one that I want to talk about is actually Shadow PC. This one's probably the most expensive option. They actually have a deal with the GeForce Now one. I think it's only like $10 a month to get the highest rig option, which is a RTX 4070, I believe, 4080, I think actually, that you can get on the GeForce Now option. So, that's really good for $10 a month. You don't have to worry about anything. But the thing that I really like about the Shadow login, which looks like it already logged me out here. All right, so I'm now signed in. So, yeah, so basically with Shadow PC, you do have to sign up and pay for a subscription. They do range from like $30 to like $50 a month, which can be kind of expensive. But depending on what type of PC you're running currently, it's still, over the course of it probably take like 3 years to get to about like two K, which is about the price of a decent gaming laptop or desktop. So if that makes sense to you, this is probably the most expensive option, but you can get away with it. But basically, you're able to just go in here and hit start now. It'll load up into essentially like a virtual machine logged into your account. And it's a fully functional Windows 10 setup. You can upgrade it to 11 if you want to, but you can download anything you want. You can download Steam. You can download. It's just like having Windows on your computer. So basically, I'm still in my, or my Linux desktop running this Windows through the Shadow PC. So I'm able to play pretty much any games. Now, one thing I did notice, I was trying to play the Marvel Rivals playtest, which I believe is over already, but I was trying to play that the other day, and it said it would not launch because it cannot be launched through a virtual machine. So some games will recognize this as a virtual machine instead of an actual Windows PC. So do keep that in mind that there are some games that still would not run through this, unfortunately, but this is an option for a lot of different games that you still be able to run through. You don't have to have a decent internet connection like all the rest of these options, well, because they're pretty much streaming options for the most part. But yeah, so that's the Shadow PC, which is really not a bad option at all. And go ahead and quit out of this. All right, and so my favorite option is actually using Moonlight and Sunshine to be able to basically remote into other Windows PC that you might have. So I do have a laptop that's running my Linux setup connected to my monitor, and then I do also have a gaming desktop that it has both Windows and Linux separate SSD drives on the desktop. For the most part, I've been running my Linux desktop from my laptop for all of my work and a good amount of my gaming. And then if I want to do, some more intensive gaming or something that is not available on Linux, I will remote into my gaming PC. So with that, it's pretty easy to set up. I can create another video to walk you through how to set that up. If you want to know that, let me know in the comments below. But basically, I do have two different computers on here. One is asleep right now. That's why you see that exclamation point. But I can log into this one just fine. So I can go into the desktop. I do have Play Night, so you can launch, Play Night directly from there, or I can launch directly into Steam. But if you go into the desktop, you're actually able to just launch into the desktop. It takes a couple seconds, and then you're in. And then so now I'm remoted into my other PC. This one is running Windows 11, but I'm able to play any game. And this one does not have the whole issues of having it show up like a virtual machine, and having you being kicked out, for any. And that reasons I have not had it, show up for anything really saying that I am, using any, third-party tools or anything like that, being kicked out for anything. So I think this is probably the best way to do it if you have another PC that you can put Windows on, and just remote into it. And basically, I have that desktop set up where it's connected to a monitor, but I literally don't ever directly log into it from it. I just run through my Linux desktop and then remote into it this way, and everything is pretty seamless. Like it's I can play, mouse and keyboard, and everything's reactive and everything's good. I do have both hardwired, so that helps. But if you can't hardwire, you just have to have a decent Wi-Fi connection to get everything to work. But for me, I think this is the best option. I think the second best would probably be the Nvidia option, and then third would be the Shadow PC, mainly because the Shadow PC is the most expensive and still is flagged as like a virtual machine, and some games will not run on. So this is kind of my favorite option right now. So if you like this type of video, obviously please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.